Hey guys, Chopsticks Vakarma, and today I'm going to share something that blew my mind when I first discovered it in 1700 Japan. A samurai named Yamamoto Tsunetomo wrote something that changed history forever after decades of serving as one of Japan's deadliest warriors. He revealed that true power comes not from the sword, but from Buddhist wisdom. But don't click away, this isn't just another history lesson. This is the true story of how Japan's most feared warriors discovered something incredible. The path to becoming unstoppable wasn't through more fighting. It was through meditation and inner peace. And get this, what these legendary warriors discovered centuries ago is so powerful. The modern special forces, Olympic athletes, and some of the world's top performers still use these exact same techniques today. In this video, you'll discover how Buddhist wisdom transformed Japan's deadliest fighters into something far more powerful. We'll explore the 7 virtues that turned ordinary warriors into legends, the secret training methods that modern elite forces still use, and the mind-blowing way these warriors found ultimate power through inner peace. But first, we need to go back to where it all began, to a time when Japan was torn by war, and warriors were about to discover something that would change them forever. We need to go back to the year 1191, when something incredible happened in Japan. A Buddhist monk named Aisai returned from China. But this wasn't just any monk. Aisai was a maverick, a rebel who had traveled across dangerous seas to China. Twice searching for the deepest teachings of Buddhism in China, Aisai discovered something different from the complex Buddhist teachings that already existed in Japan. He found Zen a direct, practical, powerful way to train the mind. He knew this could change everything. You see, Japan was in chaos. The old imperial system was breaking down, and a new warrior class called the samurai was rising to power. These samurai were the deadliest fighters Japan had ever seen, but they were searching for something more than just physical strength. Here's where it gets interesting. When Aisai brought Zen to Japan, he didn't go to the peaceful temples of Kyoto. Instead, he headed straight to Kamakura, the warrior capital, because he saw something nobody else did. He recognized that these warriors needed more than just combat training. They needed a way to master their minds. This brings us to Kensho-ji. Now, this wasn't just another temple. Kensho-ji was the first Zen training monastery ever built in Japan. Founded in 1253 by the most powerful warrior family of the time, the Hojo clan. Picture this, a massive temple complex built into the mountains where warriors and monks trained side by side. Think about how revolutionary this was. In one part of Kensho-ji, you'd have monks sitting in complete silence, while in another, samurai practiced sword techniques. But something remarkable happened when these two worlds collided. The warriors began to realize that the monks' mental training could make them more effective in battle. The records from Kensho-ji tell us something fascinating. These samurai discovered that through Zen practice, they could maintain absolute clarity and chaos, make split-second decisions without hesitation, and develop an awareness that seemed almost supernatural. These aren't just stories passed down. We have actual written records. The Azuma Akademi, a detailed historical chronicle from that period, documents how the Hojo rulers actively supported this fusion of Zen and warrior culture. Pretty cool when history backs up these incredible tales. This combination of warrior skills and Buddhist wisdom created something entirely new, something that would change Japanese culture forever and lead to the development of a remarkable code that we still study today. Want to know what these warriors discovered? Let's explore the 7 incredible virtues that became known as Bushido, the way of the warrior. So what exactly was this code that emerged from the fusion of Zen wisdom and warrior culture? The samurai called it Bushido, the way of the warrior, and at its heart were 7 virtues that transformed these fighters into something far more powerful. The first virtue is righteousness, or Gi. Imagine being so committed to doing what's right that you give up everything to protect it. It's exactly what happened in 1701 when 47 samurai sacrificed their entire lives to rightfully avenge their master. knowing they'd be sentenced to death for it. That's, I know what you're thinking, Matt. Are you telling me these super serious warriors were basically ancient Buddhist life coaches? Well, kind of, but instead of posting inspirational quotes on Instagram, they were living these principles with a sword at their side. Then we have courage. But this isn't about being fearless. The samurai knew real courage is about facing your fears and acting any way. Historical records tell us of warriors who would meditate before battle, not to eliminate fear, but to act with clarity despite its benevolence. Jin, now this one might surprise you. These deadly warriors were expected to show compassion and mercy. We have documented cases of samurai protecting entire villages during wars, even when it went against their lord's orders, because Jin meant using your power to help others respect. This wasn't just about bowing and being polite. It went much deeper. There are records of samurai treating their enemies with honor, even in death, because they understood that true power comes with deep respect for all life. Honesty. Makoto the samurai believed that lying poisoned your spirit. Real records from clan meetings show how warriors would admit their mistakes, even when it meant severe punishment, because truth was more important than consequences. Honor. Mayo, your reputation was everything, but not in the way you might think. It wasn't about fame. It was about being the same person in private that you were in public, living with complete integrity, no matter who was watching. And finally, loyalty. Chugi. But here's the fascinating part. The samurai combined this with Buddhist wisdom. True loyalty wasn't blind obedience. It was about being loyal to your principles, first to what you knew was right. But these virtues weren't just philosophical ideas written in ancient texts. They were practical tools that transformed every aspect of a warrior's life. And that's where our story gets even more interesting. Wanna know how they actually trained in these virtues? How they turned these principles into real power? Let's look at the incredible ways they trained both body and mind. Now let me show you how these warriors actually trained, because what they did was unlike anything the world had seen before. They didn't just practice sword techniques. They completely rewired their minds and bodies. Let's look at something fascinating from Yagyu Munori's secret manual, written in 1632. He was the sword instructor to 3 Japanese shoguns, and he wrote something incredible. The highest level of sword mastery isn't about sword techniques at all. It's about achieving what they called no mind. But what exactly is no mind? Imagine being so present, so focused that your body moves before your thoughts get in the way. The samurai would spend hours in meditation, then immediately pick up their swords. They discovered that an empty mind made their reactions lightning fast. Picture trying to explain to your friends that your new workout routine involves sitting completely still and emptying your mind. They'd probably think you're just being lazy, but these warriors knew better. It's actually harder than doing 1,000 push-ups. Trust me, I tried both. Here's a mind-blowing training method they used. A warrior would sit in meditation in a temple, completely still, while behind him another samurai would wait ready to strike with a wooden sword. The warrior wasn't allowed to move until the exact moment of attack. This trained them to act from pure awareness without thinking, and we have records of another incredible practice. Samurai would spend hours performing the same sword cut thousands of times. But here's the key: they weren't just practicing the movement. They were learning to empty their minds through the action, making each cut as if it were the only one that mattered in the dojo. They had the saying, think about that. These warriors figured out that the real battle wasn't with the enemy, it was with their own thoughts, their own fears, their own doubts. The craziest part: modern science is just now proving how effective these methods were. Studies show that this combination of meditation and movement literally rewires your brain, making you calmer under pressure, sharper in your decisions, and faster in your reactions. And here's something wild: these exact same techniques are being used today. Navy SEALs practice meditation before high-stakes missions, just like those ancient warriors. Olympic athletes use these focusing methods to stay calm under pressure. Even Silicon Valley CEOs are taking up sword practice and meditation. Talk about history repeating itself, right? But the real test of all this training wasn't in the dojo, it was on the battlefield. And what happened when these warrior monks put their training to the test? Well, that's a whole other story, ready to see how this training played out in real combat. Because the historical accounts of what these warriors could do are absolutely incredible. Let me take us from their training methods to real historical examples of how they use these skills. So what happened when these warrior monks put their training to the test? The historical records tell us some absolutely incredible stories. Take the famous Battle of Sekigahara in 1600. We have documented accounts of samurai who used their Zen training in the middle of Japan's biggest and bloodiest battle. In their writings, they describe entering a state of total clarity. Even as chaos erupted all around them, these warriors could sense exactly when to move, when to strike, and most importantly, when to stay still. But here's an even more amazing example. In 1582, a samurai named Tadaoki Hosokawa faced an entire army with just a handful of men. The odds were impossible, but instead of panicking, historical records tell us he sat in meditation before the battle. When he opened his eyes, he led his men with such calm precision that they held their position for 3 crucial hours, saving thousands of lives, and it wasn't just in battle. We have records from the Tokugawa period of samurai using their Zen training in real sword duels. They describe something fascinating: the ability to read their opponent's intention before they even moved. One account tells of a master who won a duel without drawing his sword. He sensed his opponent's attack coming and simply wasn't there when the strike came. But perhaps the most powerful example comes from the writings of Miyamoto, Musashi, Japan's most famous sword saint. He won over 60 duels, and in his book, The Book of 5 Rings, he tells us his secret. The mind must be free, like the surface of still water. He wasn't talking about fighting technique. He was describing the Zen state he achieved through years of training. But it wasn't just warriors who mastered these principles. There's this amazing story about a Zen master named Hakuin. When falsely accused of fathering a child, he simply said, "Is that so?" and took care of the baby for a year. When the truth finally came out, he returned the child with the same calm response. Now, that's what you call keeping your cool. The samurai weren't the only ones who could stay calm under pressure. These weren't just isolated incidents. All across Japan, warriors who combined Zen practice with martial arts were doing things that seemed impossible, moving with perfect timing, making decisions in split seconds, remaining totally calm in the face of death. But here's what's really interesting: the real power of their training showed up, and how they lived, not just how they fought. And that brings us to our final chapter about how these warrior monks applied their wisdom to everyday life. Want to know how they turned these battlefield insights into principles for daily living? Because this might be the most valuable lesson of all. Let me show you why these ancient warrior monks' teachings became so powerful. In 1700, Yamamoto Tsunetomo wrote something fascinating: The Way of the Samurai is found in death. Now that sounds pretty dark, but what he really meant was revolutionary. By accepting death, these warriors learned to live more fully, more authentically, calm than ever before. Let me give you a real example from the historical records. Every morning, samurai would wake before dawn. They would begin their day with meditation, followed by weapons practice. But here's the interesting part: before any training, they would spend time contemplating their own death, not in a morbid way, but as a reminder to live this day with purpose. Their daily routines were incredible. We have detailed records from samurai households. They would alternate between intense training and periods of peaceful arts, from sword practice to calligraphy, from meditation to poetry. They understood something profound: true strength comes from balance. But it went even deeper than that. These warriors applied the 7 virtues to everything they did. When they prepared tea, they did it with the same focus they brought to sword fighting. When they arranged flowers, they approached it with the same discipline as military strategy. even their everyday conversations were guided by principles of respect and honesty. And here's the mind-blowing part. We found scrolls describing how some samurai would spend hours just arranging their armor, not out of vanity, but as a meditation practice. Every action, no matter how small, was a chance to train their minds. Think about it, these warriors figured out something incredible. The same principles that kept them alive in battle made their everyday lives extraordinary. The focus that helped them face death helped them live more fully. And get this, these warrior monks' influence spread way beyond the battlefield. Their Zen practices transformed Japanese culture itself. From the precise movements of the tea ceremony to the minimalist beauty of rock gardens, even today's Japanese architecture and design, it all carries traces of this warrior monk wisdom. Who knew the deadliest fighters in Japan would end up influencing art more than war? And that brings us to something even more amazing, because what these warrior monks discovered centuries ago is still changing lives today. These ancient warrior monks discovered something timeless, something that's just as powerful today as it was centuries ago. The ultimate strength isn't in your sword or even in your skills, it's in your mind. Think about it, we just witnessed how deadly warriors transformed into enlightened masters, how the same principles that made them unstoppable in battle helped them find inner peace. And here's the amazing thing. You can use these exact same principles in your life today, whether you're facing challenges at work, dealing with stress, or just trying to become a stronger version of yourself. The wisdom of these warrior monks shows us the way their 7 virtues, their training methods, their daily practices. They all point to one simple truth: real power starts from within. And just like those ancient warriors found their strength in Zen temples, you too can begin this journey right now today. If you want to discover more about the incredible wisdom of Buddhism, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Drop a comment below, let me know which of the 7 virtues resonated with you the most, and don't forget to hit that bell icon to stay updated on new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.